Hello, and welcome. So this is the third video in this short little series, the third and final video. So the first video was a review of Stephen King's On Writing, in which we learned that he has the mantra that he lives by. To be a good writer, you need to read a lot and write a lot. And then I practiced writing a lot. I did a couple of writing prompts, practiced same creativity. I did a little bit of writing, but obviously you'll have to do a lot more for the write a lot to actually count. And then in this review, we're going to look at reading a lot and what it looks like to read as a writer. Just to make it clear, you could learn things from good books. You could learn, I love this book so much. I could never write anything better, so let's see what I can delve from this and use in my own writing. Or you can learn from horrible books. You can look at the hideous metaphorical jacket that book is and say, you know what? It was a cool idea that the buttons are a different color than the shirt, but the rest of it is bad. The rest of it is horrible. So it's sort of like that you can learn from the greats, but you can also learn from other people's failures and think, I could do this so much better, but that one bit, not such a bad idea actually. So we're going to look at previous books that I've reviewed and look at what to do and what not to do and what we can learn from them. So I have done 33 reviews in all on this channel, and we're going to look at 7 of them. Just do some retrospective reviews. What can we learn? So the first book we're going to do a retrospective review on to read as a writer is the horror short story, The Dark Water Bride. And here I think what we can definitely learn is how to create tension through world, through ambiance, through situation. The horror there was very much the world, the characters that realistically lived in that world. It was dripping taps and mossy alleyways, and it was dark and wet, and it gave the whole setting this undertone of dread and horror, and it seemed so realistic. You could imagine what people from this world would do, and so the setting became more monstrous, more horrible, and more terrifying than the monster itself, which made the whole story a horror instead of just the scenes where the monster was involved, because it took a long time for us to get to the monster. So it's that reality and the way setting and your description of a setting can set the mood for a whole story, and that you have to look carefully at where you're placing your characters in order to invoke a certain feeling from the reader. Second book, The Bridge Kingdom. So here I would like to speak about tension. In The Bridge Kingdom, we have a powerful, competent main character who's facing deadly odds. And different than in other books, she has the opposite of plot armor. In every situation, she's a highly trained, highly skilled assassin, and things just go wrong. She just has the worst luck, and every time she fails, it's because of no fault of her own. Her foot slipped, the birds flew up, somebody else did something wrong. Her competence is never called into question, but sometimes she fails because of luck, because of a roll of the dice that things just didn't go her way. And every time she succeeds, it wasn't because somebody just happened to not look this way, or somebody just happened not to notice. Luck was never on her side when she succeeds. So, to put that in a nutshell, make your main character fail by accident and succeed on purpose. Don't give them plot armor. Don't just, oops, and they just so happen to survive. They have to struggle to survive, and sometimes things just happen to go wrong. Then Frankenstein and the power of theme. So Frankenstein has a couple of very heavy themes running throughout the whole book. The theme of the grotesque as opposed to the monstrous, the theme of beauty, the theme of science and knowledge and creation, definitely creation, whether we are responsible for what we create and whether our creator is thus responsible for us and our misery. So what makes theme powerful? Because a lot of stories you can make up your own themes for every book you read, but here the theme was built into the story with a purpose. So Frankenstein's monster goes down every avenue. He fully explores this theme until he comes to the conclusion that life is unfair and he has no way out other than murder. So the theme here is very strong because throughout the novel you can kind of trace the story and look through the whole philosophy of this problem of being grotesque and how to deal with it, how to live while being grotesque, and figure that there is sometimes no solution for this people. It's a very doomer book at the end for the grotesque, but it makes it an interesting read because it's all about one thing. It's not just about a random science creation gone wrong. It's about the grotesque. It's about the monstrous. It's about creation. It's about something, and that makes it powerful. So the fourth book I'd like to point to is Droomig die Grove. Now this is a children's story, but I think it goes a little bit above and beyond in putting the reader in the mind of this little animal, like a meerkatish thing. It puts you in their mind by changing up the jargon a little bit. So there are specific words for specific things that are close enough to our average English word that you can kind of know, oh, that's what he's talking about. But also completely unique that you know you've stepped into a different creature's mind now because they have different words for things, different jargon, and that just molding of words or kind of twisting words up to make them mean something different to your character, or making themes or messages mean something a little bit different, or situations, really goes a long way into putting your reader in the mind of something completely different to themselves. And that's really special, and something I think we can all learn from, is to think not only how would I see this and kind of speak through your characters, but to give your characters a mind of their own and think, okay, so she comes from this world and this is her background and this is who she is. How would she perceive this? Would she give it a different name? Would she understand what this is? So if you have a very naive character stepping into a drug ring, is she going to know what they're talking about? If they use the drug jargon, is she going to momentarily be confused about what all the white powder is lying around? Is she going to think they were baking a cake? So things like that it sounds comical, but it really goes a long way to making a character and a world more realistic. Confusion and messiness is part of the world. And when a writer puts it in, I always know that there's a little bit more thought put into this than just a straightforward writing of a story. Then the fifth book is one I did not like so much. I didn't actually finish it, but I think there's still things to be learned from what I didn't like. So this is The Shadow of the Conqueror. So I think we can learn two very important lessons from this, why I put the book down. The first one is kind of something that goes both ways. It's not straightforward a critique. Strong characters are divisive, and they're always going to be like that. If you give your character a strong personality, people are either going to love them to bits or absolutely despise them. Unfortunately for me, that I did not like that character, but it's really a merit to writing a strong enough character that some people are just disgusted or put off by that strength, by that very defined personality. If your character is just overall likable and floating around and sort of doesn't have an opinion on things, sure, everybody can like that. But if your character has something to say and has a way of saying it and is a person, then that can rouse some strong emotions from people, positive or negative. And then the other thing is magic and how it should be handled. So I believe the mistake really there, and this has kind of come from me defending myself in the comment section, is magic should be magical, no? It shouldn't be physics but complicated and with another element thrown in. Because even though I could understand it, it was boring to read. I didn't care about it. Magic should seem magical. The rules should be magical. The rules should be different than than what we have, and still somehow grounded in something relating to our reality. So Name of the Wind's magic system makes a lot more sense because it is still magical. It makes sense though. This object moves that object and it's all related and there's like strong limits on it, but it's magic. It doesn't have to work the way our physics works. It shouldn't be something you can replicate in real life, because otherwise it's no longer magic. And maybe that's just my dislike of like science fiction coming through, but in a fantasy story, I want my magic to be magical. And maybe that's just a me thing. But that was definitely something I learned from there, is to not oversimplify or make too realistic a magic system in a story. It should still feel like a fantasy. It should still feel like a world you want to be part of, because it is so completely different from our own. And, well, magical. Then, The Name of the Wind. So, let's just ignore the absolutely beautiful prose who anyone should try to duplicate if they at all think possible. I think there's something else we can learn from these stories. The trilogy is not complete yet, so I may stand under correction, but I really like that it's kind of episodic storytelling. Quoth's story is not the one of how he saved the world. It's a little boy growing up. And that means that he gets to just go on little adventures. He gets to do his thing. He gets to have small personal conflicts. It doesn't have to be the end of the world for us to care, because the only reason we would care if the world ended is because people close to us would die. So, for a character, losing their loot or having a loved one die is enough tension to drive a story. You don't need to put the whole world at risk. You can put one character at risk, and that could be enough to drive a whole plot and build up much more tension than the end of the world could ever do. The apocalypse is overrated, but love is something worth fighting for. And then the 7th retrospective review is Stephen King himself, the Dark Tower series. And this is again tension and motivation. Roland wants that tower. He is more than ride or die for that tower. If he dies, he's just gonna drag his raggedy old bones up, tell his heart to start beating, damn it, and then keep going after that tower. Nothing will stop this man. And kind of contrary to what I just said, he is willing to risk the lives of people he truly loves for the tower. He does not care. And it's not as if the world is at stake. We don't even know why the hell he wants that tower so badly. But somehow it doesn't matter. It's fascinating, awe-inspiring to watch someone so committed to a goal. And his motivation and his drive kind of resonates and makes you respect him and makes you not want it for him. I don't know if I want Roland to meet the tower. It seems inevitable. He's going to reach it, definitely. There's no way he cannot reach it. And yet, I don't really care that much about the tower, but watching him go through this, I can't let this story go, because this motivation is something so powerful and so fascinating, and I've never seen anything like it. It's difficult to explain. It's as if destiny has become a man in Roland, in the gunslinger himself. As if it's watching an immovable force just going towards something and you can't look away. And that type of strength of motivation has led me to question every motivation I've ever written. Do they want it bad enough? Are they willing to kill people they love for it? If not, then maybe their main motivation isn't the motivation I'm laying out for the story. Then they obviously want to protect the people they love more. It's a really strong driving force in the novel that I just haven't seen anywhere else, and I think it's something that will stay with me while I write, and that will stay with me anyway. And I wonder whether that's the right way to write every character, because I don't think everyone has such a strong will. But then if you're writing a character with a strong will, look to Roland. Look what a strong will really looks like. And see what an immovable force is when they're going towards their goals. So that was that. And these are just examples for you to look at. The point now, going forward, in your reading and in your writing is to look for your own lessons. When you read and you find a bit and you're like, did that work? I don't think so. Why didn't it work? Ask yourself, what happened? And in every review I do, I sort of ask myself, okay, I didn't like this didn't work for me, why? And I may not always share that why, but I think these retrospective reviews gave me the chance to kind of speak about the thing that stood out the most about a book and what I could learn from it. Just another example now off the top of my head, in that same Dark Tower series, I don't think the action is done very well. Stephen King does not properly set the scene of the fight first. I don't know where people are coming from. I don't know how many combatants are involved. I don't know the lay of the land. And so it's difficult for me to keep up with the story. So then you can kind of realize, okay, it's important to set the scene first, kind of just in passing, and then come back to that place that your readers know and fight there so that they know, oh, so he slammed him against that wall with the painting on it. I remember we were looking at that painting earlier. And it shouldn't feel like you're setting up a fight beforehand, but it's necessary to know what the situation is to keep up with quick pace inside of that situation. And I think to a certain extent it'll also change how you watch movies, because movies are stories all the same. And you might learn some things about one character that just annoys you and you can't figure out why, or one plot line or sub story that just doesn't work. What's the matter here? And then to finish off, I'd just like to point to a couple of the top tropes that people, that once you start looking for them, you'll see them everywhere. For example, the power of 3. How many stories have 3 quests, 3 things, 3 people, 3 objects or MacGuffins to find on their way to victory? The power of 3 is very prevalent in storytelling. I'm not sure why it's so powerful, but 2 is just too few and 4 is just too many. And then another example would be the 5-man band, which sometimes can be hidden or shaded in a bit, hided, veiled, but usually a group is 5, and that those 5 then go together to do the thing. So even though there are 3 physical people, it may be that there are 5 characters in all, and the archetypes of those 5 people in the 5-man band are also a reoccurring thing in stories. And why is it powerful? Why does it work? And will it work for you? Are questions you should be asking while you're reading, if your aim is to read like a writer. So I've been gaining subscribers recently. I would just like to thank you guys a lot. And then if you're not subscribed yet, please click the red subscribe button, click like if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment to tell me anything. Okay, ta-ta!